On Christmas Day, this meant church-like silence for the King's speech. The King was George VI, whose crippling stutter was made famous for a new generation in the 2010 film starring Colin Firth. An extraordinary number of people who were children during the war recall how painful it was to listen to him struggling with his words. Apart from the wireless, listening to the gramophone, sing songs around the piano or family games ranging from cards to charades were the best most people could hope for in the way of entertainment. As for festive food, lots of things that we think of as commonplace were simply unseen from 1939 onwards. Signs reading, "Yes, we have no bananas," the title of a popular song of the 1920s, were often seen outside greengrocers' shops, put there by shopkeepers who were tired of answering the same question over and over again. After the war, many children, seeing these strange, bendy items for the first time, tried to eat them skin and all. One 8-year-old boy assumed they were guns. He and his friends may not have recognized exotic fruit, but they knew what guns were and used the bananas to play war games until these strange new toys turned soft and squishy, which can't have taken very long. The main reason for shortages like this was that before the war, Britain imported about 2/3 of its food. This made the country immensely vulnerable to anything that interfered with supplies. From the moment hostilities started, German U-boats in the Atlantic targeted merchant ships coming from North America and elsewhere, hoping effectively to starve Britain out. Rationing, a complicated system involving both coupons and points, of food and of lots of other things was introduced, with the praiseworthy aim of eking out limited supplies and distributing them fairly to everyone. Understandably enough, the troops came first. Civilians had to make sacrifices so that the men on the front line could carry on fighting. The government also encouraged people to eat healthily. A strong, well-fed nation would be better able to fight and win the war. Many, particularly the urban poor, had more nutritious diets than ever before as they were forced to cut down on fatty and sugary foods and fill the gaps with vegetables. But although many in rural areas don't remember going hungry, many in the cities did. There simply wasn't enough to go round. It goes without saying that fighting a war costs money. Another reason for shortages was a massive export drive. The more goods were sold abroad, the more funds came in to finance the war effort. Even things that weren't rationed quickly became hard to get, as anything that smacked of frivolity gave way to practical needs. Shoe manufacturers concentrated on soldiers' boots and sturdy shoes for the land girls working on the farms. Raw materials that had previously been used to make toys were redirected into more essential work, and the factories that had produced them turned to assembling radar equipment or producing guns or tanks. Few people would have denied that these were more important in the circumstances than the children's tea sets and teddy bears, but it made Christmas shopping difficult. Alcohol was another luxury that all but disappeared. Apart from the odd glass of beer, only the privileged few were able to drink during the war. But then only the privileged few had been able to afford wine and spirits before the war. For most, drinking wine was not the everyday activity it is today, and of course wine was imported. Whiskey didn't have to face the U-boats, but the government would allocate the necessary cereals to distillers only if a large part of their output was exported. As one government minister put it, "The country needs food. Dollars mean food, and whiskey means dollars." In other words, what whiskey there was sold to America. One of the reasons that most people coped as well as they did was that they were all in it together. However, particularly in the cities, a black market flourished. There were always those who could get round the system. Think of Private Walker in Dad's Army. Someone who always knew where you could get hold of cigarettes, whiskey, stockings, or other desirable commodities. Some took a pragmatic approach to this, grateful to be able to acquire anything that was going at a price and no questions asked. Others saw it as selfishness, and pretty discreditable selfishness at that. One person I spoke to while researching this book mentioned a brother who was in London during the war. He would have been in his 20s. There might have been any number of reasons why he wasn't in the forces. All sorts of reserved occupations, from teaching to working on the docks, meant you were exempt from conscription.